Hey, Matt from Hidden Machine here. We just published a 5-hour-long discussion on Deadly Premonition. We would definitely recommend playing the game before watching that video. If you've never played Deadly Premonition before, here's a few tips that should help you along your journey. This video will be generally spoiler-free. I mean, you'll see some parts of the game, but nothing concerning the story or anything too deep about any of the, mysteries of Greenvale and Deadly Premonition. So there's a lot going on in this game, and a lot of its systems and mechanics don't seem to ever be fully explained in the game. These tips are all based on the Director's Cut, which is the version available in the US on Steam and on the PlayStation 3. A lot of this will likely apply to the other versions of the game, but since I haven't played those, I can't confirm that they all will. Anyway, let's get into it. The game has a lot of repetitive animations. For example, you'll see an animation like this every time you get in or out of your car. You'll also get an animation every time you pick up an item. After a while, these can become tedious and they really slow the game down. If you press start right at the top of these animations, you can skip them. However, if you wait too long, pressing start won't do anything, and the full animation will play out. This might seem like a really minor thing, but trust me, after a few hours of gameplay, this can really help to move things along. There's also a very repetitive animation that you'll see play out every time you open a door. However, if you hold the run button while opening a door, even if you're not actually getting a running start, you'll open the door much faster. Throughout the game, you'll be able to peek into the windows of certain buildings. Often, these buildings will have multiple windows that you can look through, each one offering a different perspective of what's going on inside the building. You can walk around and check each window on a building individually, but there's a faster way. If you press R1 while looking through a window, you automatically move over to the next window. This can save a lot of time, and you'll get a bonus for your investigative efforts. Speaking of time, a lot of events in the game only take place at certain times. There's a 24-hour clock here that moves in real time, pretty much. There might be a slight difference, but it feels like it's pretty one-to-one with real time. Anyway, if you're ever ahead of schedule, you can pass time in the game by smoking a cigarette. Just keep an eye on the clock over here and stop smoking whenever the clock reaches the time you're waiting for. And if you happen to overshoot and miss an appointment, you can always try again the following day. While there are characters in the game who will tell you not to be late for things, there's no real penalty for missing an appointment or anything else that's, time sensitive. You can always make time for that thing on the following day at the same time. There are a bunch of side quests and interactions in the game that only happen at certain times, and a few of them are dependent on whether or not it's raining outside. When you complete a side quest for a character, you'll have to wait 24 in-game hours before you can start another quest for that same character. A lot of the side quests seem to be pretty easy to miss, so if you're any sort of completionist, you might want to look up a guide to make sure that you don't miss anything. You can also go back and replay chapters of the game after you've completed them, so don't feel like you have to get everything right on your first run. Throughout the game, you'll be able to purchase various cars, and for various reasons, you might lose track of those cars as you play the game. But don't worry, as any cars you've purchased will show up again later in the parking lot of the hotel, or sometimes in the parking lot of the sheriff's department. The map in the game can be a real pain in the ass, but the Director's Cut included an expandable map that you can access while driving or walking around outside. Just hit the select button and you'll be able to see a lot further down the road. This will definitely come in handy while playing the game. And that's pretty much it. There's a lot to discover in Deadly Premonition. It's full of mysteries, both in its story and in the mechanics and gameplay. But don't be afraid to experiment and just try things out. Even though this is technically a survival horror game, items and money are abundant, and you really shouldn't ever have to worry about running out of anything or making the wrong choice. One last thing, if you're trying to play the game on PC, I'd recommend emulating the PS3 version. There are several guides on how to get that running, and each guide requires a specific build of RPCS3. Now, I've tried all those guides, and only one of them worked for me. I'm on Windows 11, and I didn't face any noticeable bugs or frame rate issues throughout my playthrough. I've also got an NVIDIA card. We also tried this same guide on Windows 10 with an AMD card, and it worked great. There's a bunch of different ways to play the game, and there's a really good guide here on Reddit that explains the pros and cons of each port. Hopefully, you can find something that works for you, and then you can check out our episode of Yeah, I've Played that covers the game and its story at length. As always, big thanks to our supporters on Patreon and our channel members. I'll see you in the next video, and feel free to jump down in the comments and ask us some questions if you're trying to get the game up and running. We'd love to help you out. Peace.